pray. I am proud to be a Muslim now. Everyone say La ilaha.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace, blessings, and mercy be upon you. May you receive everything you want and more of it. Welcome back to another show, Knowledge to Action. We're trying to take this little bit of knowledge that we've accumulated over the years from original sources, from authentic sources, and turn it into action, into something that changes our life for the better, something that contributes to our development. And as we've already explained early on in the program, development in its most basic form is good change. And I thank one of my close friends for teaching me that. Today's episode is titled, You Hear Me, But Are You Listening? There's a major difference between hearing, which is physiological, and listening, which is psychological, emotional, and even spiritual. So, I promised you to continue on with how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded to people who disappointed him. But before we continue, I want to ask you guys, how do you respond to people that disappoint you? When somebody hurts you, makes you feel bad, what's your response? Now, I have a pretty solid idea when it comes to forgiveness and overlooking people's faults. I believe 110%, if they're family, they're worth it. If they're family, they're worth it. No matter how hurt you may feel because of a word they said, or maybe mom or dad are not always there for you, or maybe your son or your daughter is a little distant from you, disconnected, they're worth it. The relationship is worth it. Do what it takes to keep strong ties. We all know silatul rahim, the bond between family, is a sacred bond. Nothing is worth breaking that bond. No job, no money, no individual, nothing at all. So how do we overcome this difficulty in keeping these relationships with our own family? It's something that we start to develop as we develop وجه طليق وكلام لين, an inviting face and sweet words. When we talk to our family members, how do we talk to them? What happens when they disappoint us? How do we interact with them? Because remember, you and I, we might meet once every month, year, maybe once in the entire life. And then inshallah next time in Jannah. That's it. We're done. So it's so easy to, wajhun taliq, my buddy, my best friend, ahibbaka fillah. We're done. That's it. That's all I have to put up with. Family? Every single day. Good and bad. They're worth it. They are worth it. And they're the most difficult as well. Because they see you. They know all of you. They know when you're feeling religious and when you're not feeling so religious. They know how many times you've missed Fajr. They know how many times you'd rather play video games or watch TV than go to the mosque. They know. They see you in your real environment. That's what makes it so difficult. So, how do you handle people who disappoint you? Do you still say nice words to them?
I think it's probably about being tolerant, number one.
Tolerant? Absolutely. You got to put up with a lot, right? Absolutely. You got to put up. Absolutely. Do you ignore them?
Sometimes.
The silent treatment, right? The silent treatment. The silent treatment is deadly. It's deadly. You know why? Not because you're not saying anything. Because of all of the cognitive errors that are going on in the other person's mind. Think about it. When you get into an argument with a loved one, what are you thinking in your mind? You're having an argument in your head. And And in fact, in your head, they're answering the worst possible responses. And in most cases, if not all, you always over-dramatize it. Oh, I'm going to walk in there, and they're going to say, I don't respect you. Why don't they? And in our mind, it's all chaos. And it can destroy relationships. Because what happens the next time you meet them, after you've been arguing in your head for 3 weeks? You expect them to come up, وَجْهٌ طَلِيقٌ وَكَلَامٌ لَيِّنٌ Assalamu alaikum. I know we're fighting, but hey, let's give a hug. No, they're going to say, Assalamu alaikum. You're going to confirm everything you've thought about them. Going back to the self-fulfilling prophecy. In your mind, the worst person in the world. And now you see them, and they don't have a smiling face. Be very careful. When people disappoint you, be very careful. Because our minds become our worst enemies sometimes. But how did the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ deal with the Sahaba that disappointed him? They disobeyed. They came down from the hill. What was his response? What would your response be if you taught a group of youth for 3 weeks, every single day for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you told them, guys, all I need you to do is be here at 9 a.m. That's all you need to do. You just have to be here at 9 a.m. And they all show up at 11:30. Or just be here till 5 p.m. They leave early. Just something very basic. What happens? You're disappointed. You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. You plan on quitting the program. I don't want to have anything to do with the community. We get so frustrated because we're a little disappointed. We expect the imams to be angels. We expect religious people to always give and never receive. We expect more from others than we expect us to give them. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. We want to take from people more than we give. And so what starts to happen? We start to lose our akhlaq. We start to want something more than Allah's mercy. We start to be less merciful with others. It all starts with being disappointed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers our question. What to do with these people that He's disappointed with? فَبِمَا رَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. And it is part of the mercy of Allah that you deal gently with them. If you were harsh-hearted, they would break away from you. If you were harsh-hearted with those guys disappointed you, they would break away from you. Who's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about? Who are we talking about here?
The Sahaba.
Sahaba, right? They know the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the Prophet of God, right? These are some of the greatest men who've ever walked this earth. And even them, from the greatest man who's ever walked this earth, they would break away from him if he was harsh-hearted. Is the relationships that we have that strong to withhold something so powerful? Is it as strong as the relationship between the Sahaba and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? I doubt it. That bond was strong. We have to be extra careful. If we're harsh-hearted, people will leave us. Harsh-heartedness needs to be remedied. And how? By listening. Not just hearing. When somebody comes to you with a problem, a loved one, a family member, a friend, don't be harsh-hearted and reject them. Your intention is never to reject. We know that. You're good people. But because we don't have the skills to respond, people might assume that we're rejecting them. So think about it. Somebody comes to you with a problem. Somebody who has disappointed you in the past. Do you hold a grudge? Do you want to get back at them sometime? Do you ever get a feeling where you want revenge on somebody? Because you got to be careful, because these are the elements of having a harsh heart. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't stop there. He continues and He says, and ask forgiveness for them. So if you're harsh-hearted, they'll go away from you. So be merciful with them. And pass over their faults. Just ignore it, look over it. And ask Allah for forgiveness for them. And consult them in the affairs. Keep the relationship strong. Keep the relationship strong. Despite what happened, keep the relationship strong. Do you think these Sahaba ever disobeyed the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ again? Not at all. Not at all. Keep the relationship strong. As we come back from the break, we're going to have a little exercise for you. We're going to focus on the importance of having skills. And these skills develop stronger relationships. And from that relationship, you can seriously help somebody and make the helping process easy, as we're intending to do here in this Knowledge to Action program. See you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May God's peace, blessings, and mercy be upon you. Thanks for coming back. So today's segment, we want to talk about the skill of listening. And just to really send the message home on how important this skill is, we have a small activity. I'd like to invite Mr. Nabil and Mr. Basil, if you guys can please come to our action center. And I'd also like to invite, yeah, sure. If you can come join us. This is our Wajhun Taliq, I'm going to call him, smiling face. If you can join us over there as well. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So what we have here, everybody grab the apple, please. Show our viewers that this is an apple. Okay? This is not a magic trick. Astaghfirullah. This is an exercise to remind us how important it is to have skills. Along with the apple, each one of these gentlemen has been given a tool. Can you please raise your tools and show our audience what tools you have? Mr. Nabil has a fork. Mr. Basil has a spoon. And Mr. Omar has an apple peeler. Each one has a tool. The task, peel the apple. Go ahead, start peeling the apple while we continue with our conversation on listening. You see, sometimes we tune out. We just stop listening. Other times, we partially listen. We tune in and then we tune out. Ever listen to a person and just pick up 5 words out of the 100 and then make a new story out of it? Just to kind of show that you're listening? Another type of bad listening, or in fact it's not even listening, it's just hearing, is something called tape recorder listening. Tape recorder listening is when you memorize everything that the person said and you can repeat it back to them word for word, verbatim. So when they say, "You weren't even listening to me," your response is, "Yes, I was. I can say everything that you said. See, you said this, and that." Still not listening. And the last one is the rehearsing. You're talking to somebody, and they're thinking about what they're about to say. They're not listening at all. So, these are our different forms of non-listening. Then there's forms of listening, but not really. But let us see how our brothers are doing here. All right. Okay. Oh, All right? So keep going. You still got some more work to do. Go ahead, Mr. Khan. Better dig in there, brother. You're falling behind.
I'm very ineffective here.
Okay, yeah, it's ineffective.
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
It's disaster.
A lot of damage, eh?
Yeah.
A lot of damage. Keep going.
He's
we
making
know
progress.
where you're at. Yeah, keep going. So, listening, but not really. There's something called filtered listening, meaning we listen based on how we view the world. So we filter it through our own lens. We're not listening for what the person's really saying. We're listening based on what we have in our mind. So let's say you're speaking to somebody, and they come to you and they say, you know, astaghfirullah, I did something really haram. And we start to view them as bad people. We say, oh, no way can a good Muslim do this sin. And we start to judge them based on our filtered listening. Or we evaluate them. We're starting to judge everything they're saying. We're judging. Rather than being open and listening to what it is they're really trying to say. We sometimes stereotype listen, meaning that we label them as, yep, this person is a bad person. And now we go back to the session on schemas, where we've taken their central trait as a bad person. And we start to identify. We start to try to find evidence to confirm our original belief. And the last one, we interrupt. You're talking to somebody, and we just interrupt them. That's a common one. We don't wait for people to stop talking. And let's just make it very clear. People will only listen to you when you stop talking. So there has to be turn taking. You have to take turns. Give people the opportunity to speak. And so it's something I call how to listen so others can speak, rather than how to speak so others can listen. What's going on, guys? How are we doing? All right, let's stop here for a second. And let's talk about the importance of skills. Throughout this program, we've talked about skills about understanding ourselves. We've also spoken about skills and knowledge of change, and how to engage with people, and how to make sure that we have proper characteristics. What we're getting into now in the program is actual intervention skills. Tools used to initiate change and to sustain that change. Counseling skills. Here we have an analogy. The apple is the task at hand. The individual, the helping, whatever it is. Can we show the apples to our audience, please? All right. Okay. The tool, if you guys can show them the tools are the skills. When the wrong tool is used for a task, let's see what happened to these apples. Mr. Nabian, what happened? Your apple is damaged.
It's ruined.
It's ruined.
It's ruined.
I mean, it's not even edible anymore.
It's not very efficient.
You've really damaged it.
Yeah.
You've really caused...
It's horrible.
It's horrible, right? So, sometimes that's what happened. Sometimes we think that a tool, just because it's got similar features, for example, the fork is sharp,
Yeah.
right? Similar to our apple peeler. So we think this will do, and we cut corners when it comes to helping people. We can't do that. You can't pretend like you're an expert and just say, you know what, I listened to Knowledge to Action, all of the episodes, now I'm a professional counselor. That's not going to work. It requires further effort, further study, further research, sitting with people in your community who know how to do this stuff and learning from them. So we got to be careful not to use the wrong tool, but also not to be deceived that what we already have is good enough. Then we move on to the spoon. Which is just what? Where's the peeling? I mean, did you not listen to the task?
Definitely the wrong tool. I've made no progress whatsoever. So.
Definitely the wrong tool. Okay, definitely the wrong tool. And then, of course, we got the right tool. It did the job perfectly. So when we reflect on skills, we need to remember that we have to have the right skills for the right task. Some skills that we use are very inefficient. They just don't work. Some of them can actually cause damage, and we have to be very, very, very careful. I'll leave you with 4 things that usually cause helping relationships to lead to some sort of damage, to make the problem even worse. 1 is underestimating the severity of the problem. If your child or a friend or somebody comes to you and says, I don't like school, or I don't like visiting this location or going here, know that there's something deeper going on. Don't underestimate it. Ask why. Ask what is it about the place you don't like. Ask questions and listen to the answers. Don't just hear it, listen to it. If you have interpersonal difficulties, if there's a relationship problem, that's going to cause probably more damage. If you're using poor techniques and there's no agreement on the methodology, on how it is we're going to achieve help, it could lead to damaged relationships and even make the problem worse. So, as we continue, inshallah, next time we see you, we will start to build further on the scaffold so that you can develop the right skills for the right tasks. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I only love for my brother what I love for myself. Only Allah do I worship and ask Him for help. Every day 5 times must I always pray. I am proud to be a Muslim now. Everyone say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La محمد رسول الله لا